Hey everybody, Grace here. Welcome to another video. This one is going to be another really good one, so please make sure to stick around for the whole thing. We are back with episode 2 of Mastering the Mirror, and we're going to talk about the infamous Chaos Turbo Mirror match today. And who other to be joining me today than one of the best Chaos Turbo players in our format. I mean, one of the best players in our format. One of the GOATs of GOAT. He is a 2-time GGP champion, a 3v3 champion, a Patreon Invitational champion, a 2-time War League champion, and 2-time War League Playoffs MVP, your 2022 GOAT Format Player of the Year, and a 3-time Major Champion, AJTBLS. AJT, thanks for taking the time to be here, man.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Really excited to be on the show. I've really enjoyed the previous videos of yours. Your discussion with Moxie's was very articulate, and I enjoyed that video. So I'm hoping that I can do as good as Moxie's. That's the goal.
I have a couple questions here that I didn't prepare you for. Some of them are similar to what I asked Moxie's, but I want to ask you another question or two as well. So first off, how many Chaos Turbo Mirrors do you think you've played over the course of your GOAT format career, if you can just take an estimate?
Sure. In person and online total?
Oh yeah, everything.
Just for Chaos Turbo Mirrors, I think about 3,000.
Jesus. So a lot of experience here. You know, you've put yourself in so many different situations and different matches. So that experience is definitely helpful, I can imagine. Now I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Moxie's. It's not a ranking anything. Just give me the top 3 names that pop into your head of people that you do not want to face in the Chaos Turbo Mirror match.
Ivan Rosito, Marcus, LOL, Marcus Hayden.
The Marcuses. Yeah, those guys are monsters. And of course, Ivan Rosito as well. Yeah, those are some good names. So let me just ask you first and foremost, do you like the Chaos Turbo Mirror? Do you enjoy it?
I absolutely love it. It's my favorite part of GOAT format Yu-Gi-Oh! It's actually my favorite thing in GOATs, period.
Any matchup, that's your favorite matchup, is the Turbo Mirror?
Yes, absolutely.
So obviously we're talking GOAT format. There's, the blowout occasional because of Trinity and, any matchup. But do you believe that there is skill involved in the Turbo Mirror in particular?
The Turbo Mirror in particular, in comparison to other matchups in GOATs, while there's definitely the aspect of a charity, Trinity blowout. Notice how I started with charity in that Turbo Mirror. It's one of those skill-based mirrors that, if my opponent opens Trinity and I still have a semi-playable hand, short of them having all of the pieces with their Trinity to follow up answering set monsters and other things, I can still come back from that, because in comparison to other mirror matches where, like, let's say it's a warrior mirror match and my opponent opens full Trinity, if I don't have Trinity myself, a lot of the times there's just no coming back in that mirror from that significant open. But in the Turbo Mirror matchup, the longer the game goes, it doesn't matter so much how the first person opened up. In my experience, I've had games where I've opened Trinity and I've lost. I've had games where mind you, very few in the mirror, but I've had games where my opponents opened Trinity and I've come back and won. It's definitely a significant advantage, but again, they just need to have the pieces to also, they need to have the pieces to answer what's left in your hand after that Trinity resolves.
So what do you think is kind of unique about the Turbo Mirror? Every match we all know is, unique in some different way, but what is kind of unique about the Turbo Mirror in particular that sets it apart from these different matchups?
Well, I know I get a lot of heat for comparing this game to chess, but we're going to do it for this mirror match, because I think that this mirror specifically is the closest thing that we have to some sort of chess or completely skill-based game. There's a lot of different decisions that go into every turn, and there's a lot of key cards in the mirror match that you have to decide whether or not to use in these, and what situations, how early you want to use them. Primarily being in game 1, your Chaos Sorcerers and your BLS. Sometimes your Mind Control if you main those. And then in games 2 and 3, the list of cards that are available in the Turbo Mirror grows beyond just your Mind Control, your BLS, your Sork. It now becomes, really heavily focused on kaiku management?
Hmm.
Do you keep in your books? More focus on mind controls. So if there's a lot of different choices that you get to make at different phases of the game, being early game, mid game, late game, that if you make incorrect choices, the errors will just snowball upon themselves and you'll lose. So that's where I kind of like that skill-based matchup.
So obviously every, match of Yu-Gi-Oh plays out in its own, separate way. Sometimes games go quick, sometimes, it can come down to a deck out situation, but is there a kind of a typical template for how the mirror typically goes?
Yeah, so the typical template of the mirror, how it goes, short of, those blowout games, let's say both players, the guy going first off, going first in the turbo mirror, pretty big advantage. I would say probably about increases the win rate of the match by about 5%, maybe a little more. If you refer to the GOAT format War League documents, I'm sure there's an actual number to it, but I feel like going first is pretty significant in it. So put that aside. Let's just say that both players don't have any Trinity pieces. Maybe they just have, a decent hand. It's usually the player going first opens with the T set, and the player going second now is left with, usually a variety of decisions to the T set. Do you T set into the T set? Do you summon a monster and attack? Do you summon nobleman if you have it? Do you hold your nobleman? Are you noblemaning the first set? What do you know about your player that you're playing against? What are their tendencies? And also another thing that is a very very common decision point that the player going first has to decide is, do I set this Gravekeeper Spy first, or do I set this to Koichi?
Yeah.
And I believe that this situation has been solved in the mirror match. If depending on how many you've opened, but let's pretend that you have one to Koichi and one Spy, and the rest of your hand is, just random cards because they're going to be different. I generally set the Spy first always because of the information that you gain from Nobleman on that Spy.
Good stuff. So I know this can be a whole laundry list of things because I know you like you mentioned you've played thousands of Chaos Turbo mirror matches. But what are some of the kind of typical mistakes that you see less experienced Turbo players make that you're able to exploit in the mirror? Because over the course of your career, you've definitely shown that you have an edge in the mirror. And so how do you exploit some of these mistakes that less experienced players make?
Less experienced players will push damage in spots where there's no need to necessarily push damage. They'll take risks that you don't need to take. They'll be 2 for 1 with Mirror Force, Torrential, Chaos Sorcerers. They'll have situations where, a good player won't fall for it. Like they won't bring out BLS early without protection, whereas a poor player would be like, oh, there's a set card there. I'm going to bring out BLS. I don't care that it's turn 4. This pry, banish it. It's okay. Like I have Snatch Steal, so the game's probably going to be over now.
Mm.
Or my Sork comes out and removes it. Whereas a more experienced player will not really focus so much on the life points, but look at the card advantage game and look at the game at a different scale. So there is something to be said about just counting how many cards you have, how many cards your opponent has, and board presence, and factoring those two aspects of the game above what the actual life points say to an extent.
That's a great point. Yeah, what do you think separates, good from great duelists in the mirror match, like some of the names you mentioned earlier?
I feel like good players in the Turbo Mirror match, they still understand that they can't be giving 2 for 1s for free. They might still flip a Koichi into a Torrential when they have another card set or another card up, but that's fine because they're going to draw off the Koichi and then the Torrential's gone. So like good players and experienced players will do that, and it's still technically a 2 for 1 because 2 cards went to the graveyard for 1, but you're
Mm-hmm.
drawing, so it's kind of neutral. That'll happen regardless. So I feel like good players understand the concept. You cannot get 2 for 1 often. Now, experienced players separate themselves from good players by the ability of bluffing cards, setting that Sangan, not poking for 1,000. Or if there's a completely open board, I've done it before. I've just, open board. I set a Kaiku, not attack for 18, and just see what happens. Like, there are certain
Yeah.
in an opening play, there are things that you can do in the Turbo Mirror match that bait certain cards, mainly Nobleman and Mind Control, that if you can pull that off, your chances of winning goes, let's say you're going second and your opponent just sets a card and passes, back row. And I respond with just a set Kaiku. If they mind controlled that card, I don't care how good their hand is, they've lost a
It's
huge
devastating.
resource. They're getting a neg one, and it's completely devastating to them. So my chances of winning goes from that 45% that, because they went first, it goes all the way up to, I'm making up numbers now, but I want to say I have now the advantage in the match just by one card being used. So it's a devastating thing that, experienced players do. They might not be setting a Kaiku. I know that's really risky, but maybe they'll set a Sangan, they'll set a Night Assailant. They'll set something that, is a clear neg 1 for mind control.
Yeah, that's good. Now, do you kind of approach the mirror match any differently if you're playing against someone less skilled or, one of those really high level turbo players?
That's a great question. Against less skilled players, I just play very, very textbook. I
Mm,
play no bluffs, other than in situations where I absolutely have to. I'll make very few experienced plays because I feel like a less experienced or a bad player in quotations at the time, because I feel like players do get better, and it's like everything in life. The more you do something and more experience you gain, you'll obviously get better at it. So a newer player to it, um, I'll just play very straight out, very textbook, and let them make mistakes, and then I will capitalize on the mistakes because I will not make any mistakes, or if I will, there'll be very few. So I just let the game play out. Against an experienced player, I'll have to take in certain spots. I'll do different plays against an experienced player opposed to a bad player, as in maybe taking a little bit more risks, pushing it in certain spots. But again, those in-game intricate decisions come with experience and time. Another thing is also player tendencies. So if I know I'm playing against, let's say, Alvarado, he might have in his side deck Zambiras, and I've seen film that he sides Zambiras. Well, I'll be amiss if I don't admit to sometimes siding even a kinetic soldier for the Zambiras,
sure.
or doing something different because I know he's expecting me to play a certain way. And it kind of gets into these mind games that experienced players with history have with each other. And it's kind of fun. I really enjoy it.
That's a great way to put it. I think it's really interesting that you mentioned you play more textbook against less skilled players, because I think some people might think that that's counterintuitive, or maybe they feel like because they're playing against someone less skilled that they should, style on them or go for these, aggressive, kind of kill shots early. But you play very textbook. It's interesting. It kind of reminds me a bit of how how someone should approach like playing poker. Same kind of idea against someone less skilled. You want to play a bit more conservatively, wait for your opponent to make that mistake, and then take advantage of it. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. I remember when I was reading and watching poker
Mm-hmm.
videos maybe a couple of years ago, uh, you can't bluff a fish
Yep.
because they just won't understand.
Yep.
They won't understand what you're doing, and they won't understand the spot, and they'll be look at their hand and be like, okay, like I have top pair, I'm just gonna call. That's it. So that's a great comparison you made there.
You just wait till you flop the nuts and then get max value.
Yes.
I know you talked a little bit about, mind control specifically is a huge card that's involved with mind games in the mirror match specifically. What other kinds of mind games are involved in the turbo mirror? Because I know there's a lot of cards that kind of create these "do they have it, do they not" scenarios. So what else besides mind control kind of creates those situations?
Snatch Steal and BLS are two cards that are actually easier to bluff than you would think.
Hmm.
Against a good player, if I'm noticing that, as the game goes on and there's always been a card in their hand that's been, not used or just been lingering, you kind of get these feels that, okay, he has BLS and he's holding it. He has Snatch Steal and he's holding it. And there's a lot of the times where they just don't have it. They're bluffing that they have these cards. So at an experienced level, you can bluff Snatch Steal and BLS. At a lower mind game level, cards like Mind Control, Nobleman, um, your good sets, Magician of Faith is a huge one. So if your faith gets mind controlled and they take back a Trinity piece, that might just be game right there.
Hmm.
So you got to be very careful with that. So a lot of the times where, you know, against a really good player, I'll just open set the faith if I have a Trinity piece in my graveyard because I know that they'll be hesitant to slam the mind control if they have other options on it. Um, they might think it's just a Night Assailant and attack it with Sangan. There's a lot of different things that come up.
You've seen plenty of success online, of course, and then in person. I know you've won several GGPs. You've topped many more. I got to play you round one at GGP Austin. Was a fun match. So you don't have to give away all of your, in-person tips and tricks, but is there anything specific to the turbo mirror that you can kind of take advantage of while playing live in-person Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, I can share some things. Anyone who's dueled me in person in a serious match, I take my time with my decisions in person, especially. I frequently check both graveyards. I feel that checking the graveyards in the turbo mirror in almost not every turn, but in often situations, it might present information to your opponent that's not accurate. Like you have a
Mm,
chaos monster when in reality you do not, or checking your graveyard when you set a card might pretend that you have faith. So there's a lot of things you can do in terms of trickery and mind games, but again, playing in person, just general tips. Make sure the life points are accurate. Use pen and
yeah.
paper. Take good notes. If notes are permitted, it should be. We're playing GOAT format, but certain stores do not. But those are just my general ways of approaching in-person Yu-Gi-Oh.
It's good. You touched on this a little bit earlier, but there's a lot of side deck options that people will, bring in the mirror, like you said, kaikus, mind controls, additional copies of Trap Dust Shoot. Depending on the meta, we see sometimes 3 Dust Shoots, 1 Dust Shoot in the main. It kind of changes and fluctuates, but there's plenty of cards that people will side in the mirror. How do you kind of anticipate what your opponents are going to do and kind of try to be a step ahead of them by, exploiting these kind of common siding patterns?
So there's a couple things you can do. Number one thing that I think would apply to almost every situation is take a look at the most recent winning deck list or topping deck list that is chaos related. So the big one here would be a big shout out to Ludo. Congratulations on Worlds, but on his win. Take a look at Ludo's list, and if you're playing against a newer player or not a no-name player, but an unrecognized player, just assume that they're playing probably Ludo's list. That's what I would have done. So if you're
Yeah.
newer to format, you want to play Chaos Turbo, okay, take the World Championships list. It's obviously good, and it is. So just expect to be playing a similar list to that, playing against that. Now, tip number two, if you have access to format library, and you're playing against, let's say you're playing against me. Okay, well, I would just search my name on that website. It would pop up all the lists I've ever used and topped. So take a look at those lists. There'll be some similarities between things. Certain players like to do certain things. I'm a guy who likes Kaiku. I side it all the time. I usually side 3 or have 3 in my 55. So if you're playing against me in this current time and we're paired, you could probably expect from history repeating itself. Okay, he side decks Kaiku. Okay, so there's different things that different players like to do for their own reasons that fits their play style, or
Mhm.
you can know that he's on Wing Blast instead of Regeki Break. There are some people who are avid Regeki Break guys, and there are some people who are avid Wing Blast guys. Number one resource is take a look at or the most recent winning list, and then number two is just using that format library or GOAT format search engine against who you're playing. So that's what I'd recommend.
That's really good. Great advice. Now I want to ask you. This doesn't necessarily pertain to the the turbo mirror match, but I've got you here for a moment, so I have to ask: how do you kind of feel about the current state of Chaos Turbo in the meta? Obviously, it was very heavily representative at Worlds, but in the last few Patreons, we've seen Warrior kind of dominating. It seems like that we're kind of out of this Dust Shoot meta where everybody was running triple Dust Shoot. Can you just comment kind of on the state of Chaos Turbo at the moment, if you have any thoughts?
Sure. So a lot of people blame myself and other teammates for, cannibalizing the Chaos Turbo Mirror, and I'll explain this. If you go back to early 2022, Team and I were running 3 dust shoots in the main consistently, whereas other Turbo players were not. They were going for that solemn jar or maybe even no solemn list. So by us main decking Mind Control and main decking Trap Dust Shoot, we were getting a huge edge in game one Turbo Mirrors. So this is like a history lesson what kind of happened, and this is kind of you could prove this as well. Um, Turbo players were like, okay, well, if AJT and his teammates or whoever are doing this, people are now copying me or copying my teammates. Now I'm also gonna have trap dust shoots. I'm also gonna have all this stuff. So then now the Warrior player starts creeping up middle to late 2022. Hey, these guys are main decking Trap Dust Shoot. That card's dead against me. I should just be crushing them game one. And guess what? They did.
Yeah.
So then now for a period of time in late 2022, now we're going into 2023, the Warrior domination was happening. So then Turbo players started getting like, okay, I'm winning the mirror match, but how often am I playing the mirror match? And now the mirror match is kind of tainted because the mirror players are also playing these cards that I'm playing. I have to now accommodate for the warrior players. So then now we're main decking Sakuretsu armors. We're doing different things. And now the warrior players are like, oh, all right, they figured it out. We need to change up our list. So then now in the turbo mirrors, those guys who stuck to their guns and said, nope, I'm main decking dust shoots. I don't care. I'll lose the turbo mirror. I'll lose the warrior matchup game one. Those guys succeeded. So it's always this changing wheel of
Yep.
turbo and warrior and turbo mirror and turbo versus warrior matchups that just changes and defines the meta. In the current state, people, you are right, people have moved away from main decking three shoots. They're moving in towards solemn judgments, moving towards jars. They're doing the old school turbo list that we seen from Reclaire back in the day, main deck card destruction stuff. So it's cool. It's interesting. I mean, I've decided that I'm just kind of going to omit myself from participating in the wheel, and I'm just going to stick to my guns and just
Yep.
run my own thing and do it. But if you're interested in running that meta game stuff and trying to figure out what people run and what's good in the meta, it'll take a lot of time, a lot of research, and you could be really right and nail it for a tournament, and your deck will just outperform everybody. But again, I don't participate and get involved in those meta call stuffs anymore. I used to, but I just feel like I'm really happy with my current list and my current take.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool. Do you have any, additional tips or tricks you want to add real quick before we look at a replay for the mirror specifically?
Sure. Little general tips. Prioritize your Night Assailant actually resolving, grabbing something back. Be careful about setting Night Assailant when a Sangan could attack it. That's a -1. Watch the card count. Uh, don't get 2 for 1. Don't miss lethal. There'll be some opportunities that you can miss it, but you have to be just triple check. Do I have lethal? If you have a BLS and another Chaos Monster in your hand and they're midlife, you might have lethal. So just take a look, take your time, and that's all I really have to say.
All right, so now we're going to look at a replay, a Chaos Turbo mirror match, and kind of get into your head a little bit, AJT, and see how you approach this matchup. This is against Gangster Bro, very good Chaos Turbo player. What tournament specifically is this from?
This is from Season 2 War League, Round 2, I believe. It was Safari versus Team 400s, and I believe at this time it was just myself and Marcus alive in this war. We were down 4-2, if I recall correctly, and this was my second opponent that I played.
So let me just ask you this real quick. You're infamous for, having these playoff performances 2 times, War League playoff MVP. How do you turn on the heat in the final hour? How do you do that, AGT?
So I guess what I like to do when I have any big match and it's serious and it's down to the wire, it's like a game 7, treat it like an NBA finals. Just play your best, focus, and what also keeps me level-headed is that I just know that my opponent is just as nervous or more nervous to play me, and it's a big match for them as well. So the nerves are common, and you just have to rise above it and really just focus on the task at hand. Practice beforehand, study, make sure you're well rested, and just focus and get the job done.
That's
Try
great.
your best.
Good stuff. All right, let's get into this. I know at this point you're, aware he's on Chaos Turbo. Do you have any information about what you think about his deck at this point that you can mention? Or I know it's been a while ago, so maybe not.
I remember that he might have defeated a previous teammate. I think he did. So I was able to build a skeleton of his list. I didn't think I got to see every single card.
Yeah.
I don't really recall correctly who he beat. I think it might have been a mirror match. So I think I got to see some of the tendencies. I knew he was on Jar of Greeds, and Solemns, I believe. So there's that. I think he also had a Dust Shoot or two in there. So he did see some of my cards as well. So there is that aspect that I have to keep in mind.
Yep.
I think he's seen me side a Berserk Gorilla against Zoidberg, if I recall correctly. So I think going into the match, I just said to myself, okay, I'm never doing that again against this team because I can't be caught having a Berserk Gorilla in a mirror match. Not a good card. I know it beats over Kaiku and stuff, which is kind of why I did it for the element of surprise against Zoidberg. I can't do that again. And we just have to play really clean and hope to draw well. And that's kind of where I was at with it.
Yeah. All right, so he starts off with a T-set, like you said, kind of typical opening in any Chaos Turbo mirror. You have a very nice hand here, so...
I have an excellent hand here. We obviously do the dragons, and we're going to graceful. And then depending what we draw, our discards will change.
This is something I'm always curious about right here. Just, I don't play a ton of turbo, so I'm learning a bit here myself. Typically, you see the Night Assailant spy discard or the Thunder Dragon is an option as well. Why do you choose to go with appears you do the Night Assailant spy? Why do you choose to do that option rather than discarding your Thunder Dragons? I know that might be a bit of a noobish question, but yeah.
Sure. So there's actually a variety of reasons here, and I believe that this play is correct, really correct in this exact circumstance. So number one, we're getting light and dark turned on right away.
Yep.
I believe I only run one Night Assailant as well in this list. I can't remember, but we'll see if that comes up. So getting it to resolve the way I want it to resolve is always good, nice and early. Now, we're also showing that we have Gravekeeper Spy. So we can now set the Faith, and he'll think it's a spy. And if it gets Nobleman, we turn off his lights where our lights are already on.
That's
We
a good
also
point.
have a wing. We also have a wing blast in our hand. So in order to afford this wing blast, we need to throw away a card to do so.
Yep.
If we threw away 2 dragons, we actually lose 2 cards. Yes, they're junk. They're Thunder Dragons. We got them for free, but we still need to pay for this wing blast. So if we throw away a Night Assailant and a Spy, we show that we have Spy, get a little bit of deception going, set a Faith, able to banish his lights, and we get to keep an extra card opposed to just actual card count to afford our wing blast. So that is why we do it.
That's a great point. Yeah, good. Thanks for that. So we go upstart.
Mhm.
And like you said, get a little deception going with the Faith. Why do you decide just to set the Wing Blast as opposed to the Book or the Torrential here?
Torrential is a no-go because I don't really see a world that I'm torrentialing. A good player will summon, then they'll Nobleman. So, even if it's Breaker, what am I torrenting? I'm going to lose my own guy. I don't really care to set this early. I do have a Sork in my hand and I need the Book to protect it. So this is the best opening play for me.
So
Okay. Unfortunately, gets spaced and plays onto him.
And then he knocks.
Yeah, it's never a good sign when the spies come out and you don't want it to be Nobleman and they're both in attacks.
Yep.
So his lights are gone at least, and I like that we're watching this replay without seeing his hand, so it's better for the viewer that way.
Yes,
Good.
I agree.
So now he sets a card, and we're going to pretend like we don't know it's Night Assailant for
Yeah,
sake
for
of the
sure.
replay. Here, this play is pretty simple in my opinion. It's to set the Serpent and set the Torrential because it's unlikely that he has a second Nobleman, or if he does, then we're losing our Serpent. Our Spy gets to stay, and then we have a chance to get a big plus from this Torrent here. So
Yep.
this is good.
Makes sense.
And then now this is just a bluff. We're bluffing that we have Wing Blast set, and we just don't want to give away that it's not Wing Blast. So
So he
I'm
does
very
have the second
unfortunate.
knock. Yeah.
Very unfortunate. TDs
And
are
he
fine.
finds
We don't really
the
care about
lights as
that.
well now.
Right now, we don't care that he gets the lights. Could have been a lot of worse things, such as a Trinity piece. So
Yep.
we have a Sork to answer their chaos. We still have a Torrential set. So I think we're just going to be taking some damage here. But
Yeah.
we are nearing now the danger zone of we're just above half.
For
So
sure. So that's another
here,
monster.
yeah. So here is kind of I think the play is you summon Spy and you Torrent and then you Duo after. Yeah. Okay. You do this because you can't risk that Spy being, Night Assailanted or dealt with, and then now you have a clear Duo, so now you have 4 cards to literally 1, and now you just set the Book. There's no reason to bring out the Sork and attack, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yet. We love this. Take it.
Absolutely.
Take it. This is a slam dunk. Sork, banish.
Yep. And that makes sense. I mean, you just explained last turn. You always want to be taking those advantageous trades. You decide to wait on the Sork, and now you get a plus because of it. So,
Yeah, this is a slam dunk for us. So definitely banish it. Right now, if he had Torrent, he would have used it. So he does not. We have not checked for Snatch. There's 2 Noblemans in the grave. The play is to summon Sook, put it down, and attack him for 11.
yep.
His turn. So there's the rip of his pot. It's
Yep.
very timely for him, but you know what? All things being fair, we had a Trinity piece, so does he. So it's good. It's part of the game. We have 2, actually, to his 1. This is a good draw. Plays to flip and attack. Let it go. Do not. So hopefully we do not book this.
Interesting. Yeah. Why do you decide to hold the book here?
We're low on life. We can lose to ring and a lot of other cards eventually. So we just drew another Sork. This gives us another light and dark access. So we're actually okay with this. We can just
Yeah.
let it go.
Makes sense. I think I would just rip book immediately, but yeah, that makes complete sense.
And then we can set Suk comfortably here as well.
So he goes for the sorcerer of his own. Then you get
Back
hit
to
with a
square
back
one.
to square one. Interesting.
I remember seeing that now. Yeah, I recall. Yeah, so he was on that back to square one list. So this deck in that version just vomits damage. So that's kind of why I set the Suk just to prevent dying.
Makes
We
sense.
have to take this damage because we need the Sork to get the Prio Banish to remove that.
Makes sense. You're still a little nervous
Yeah.
about this back row potentially being something real, right?
Oh, definitely. But if it's ring, at least we have an answer. And
Yep.
note that he did not set that Knight Assailant, so we're getting some information from that.
Yep.
Sork Banish, same thing.
Yep.
We have to pitch for it. Suki it down. Same thing. Same play. Nothing else we can do.
Yep. So he
This
has
sucks.
Wing Blast. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Decides to
And
summon
now
the spy.
we have the bookers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the book or we're dead. So and then now I don't think we have any darks. So I think we have to set Suk. Or we do.
You have
Sorry,
the
yeah.
Knight
This is
Assailant, yep.
yeah, this is a pitch and bring out the sort. Have to do this, not our favorite, but you know, we're just kind of getting beaten down. Yeah, we're just getting beaten down on life. And we have to Suk it down again because again his stuff's gone. So like his nobleman's gone. If you just rip snatch, you rip snatch.
Yep.
We like this, a little bit of life, but it's
For
also
sure.
scary.
A little breathing room.
Yep. When he does this, you just know that something bad is coming. Yep, there you go.
Makes sense.
Power piece.
Okay, so.
Gain 1,000. I mean, I think here you just have to Suk nobleman, put down the Sork, and nobleman it. Otherwise, that it's just like you're good. It's a neg one kind of because you're doing it to your own card, letting him cash in the snatch. But I mean, it is what it is. Those two noblemans kind of cost us, and it just kind of goes to show, like, yeah, we had Thunder Dragons, we had Charity and stuff, but I don't really see any glaring mistakes in this game one, and we're on the verge of losing.
Yeah.
So it goes to show, like, it's not the end of the world. This is a huge draw, and if this resolves, can you go to my graveyard for a second?
Yeah.
And go to my banish. So this is a huge draw. If this resolves the way I want it to resolve, we can establish a board presence by snatching and Suking it down and flipping it and putting. I think his mirror's gone, so putting everything in attack and just sending it.
Yep.
But we just need this to work. So we have only one play here. So he's thinking about it. He lets me have it, and then he's thinking now. And I was like, okay, like, I'm really praying to God that it's not Wing Blast, but if it is, I'm really hoping he does it now, not when I summon Suk and put it down.
Yeah.
And then now he's going to draw back his own spy, and I was like, okay, that's fine because I don't think he has any more. So we'll just set our Suk and pass. We don't die. This is a brutal draw, and nothing we can do besides set it.
This is pretty simple here.
I don't end up noblemanning this.
Interesting.
There's no reason
to. Okay. You're aware that it's a spy. Yeah. See, that's crazy because I just would instantly rip this right off the bat. He has a face down monster. You have a knock. You just play it, but makes sense. Got to wait on it.
He doesn't have any more. Yeah, he just doesn't have any more. So then he sets a card and decides to pick it up, and I was like, nah, like, that's it. It's set.
That is one thing I have noticed from watching mirror matches is how kind of interesting Tsukiyomi plays a role in sometimes some of these games, specifically just because some of the power flips like Spy and Dekoichi can't get over it. So there's some definitely interesting scenarios like this. It's good to keep in mind.
It's also good to note like that we don't nobleman it because the spy is only 1200 damage. He doesn't have another one, so if he finds a way to clear my souk, we're still not dead.
Yeah,
So yeah,
makes sense.
this new one here has to get
Of
noblemaned.
course. Yeah.
It's probably Dequaichi, and it is obviously is, but I don't really think there's many flips left. And we have to set this wing blast. Kind of sucks. Kind of wish we had that dust shoot in our hand, but
Yeah.
that might have been a mistake to set it. And then now this is just set spy.
So he does the torrential spy play, but
He has no more, yeah, but then he has a Sangan.
yeah.
So Sangan beats, and our turn.
Sangan of your own. What kind of factors in your decision here, whether you want to set this or summon this?
I think our Serpent's gone. I'm trying to remember
Yeah,
our
it is. It's
targets for this.
banished. So yeah,
So our targets are a spy. I think we have a spy left. So
hmm.
we'd be getting a spy if we crash it, and we have to afford a wing blast. So I think
Makes
the
sense.
play is to set it. Or I guess maybe I'm looking at his targets. I don't know what he has left either.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We decided to attack, but this game is pretty much lost. We're just too low. And like we lose to ring, we lose to a lot of cards, which is
Yeah,
kind
he
of,
just
and there
has
it
the
is.
ring.
There it is. So there's no way we can win that one.
Yeah.
And then we go to game 2.
So like you said, very interesting. You open up the, Thunder Dragon Graceful. It looked like you played pretty solid that game, in my opinion, and still, end up losing. So it is interesting how the Turbo Mirror can go, especially for some of you, newer people that are getting into the format and playing Chaos. Don't get, so discouraged when your opponent rips, Trinity on you early. The deck has a lot of comeback potential. So
Yeah, part of the reason why I presented this is because of how I lost game 1 with that
mm-hmm.
strong opening. I kind of just wanted to display the fact that, you can still lose in the
Yeah.
mirror match against a good player when that happens. And Gangster is definitely a good player. So, all right,
Yeah.
onto game 2
Yeah,
here.
having some mental fortitude, it really goes a long way as well. Because I know people that would be pretty tilted after a game one like that, and so trying to rein it in, stay calm, collected, and just move on to the next one. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I generally, that being said, I definitely agree. You could tell when people are tilted. I think I can pride myself on this. I generally don't tilt very much, if at all. I've just played this game a lot, so I know I have that for me uh, as one of my good traits. That I'm pretty hard to get tilted. So just say GG and continue
Yep.
is the motto. First siding here, just quickly.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Going first, I usually maximize shoots up to 3. Might bring in a Kaiku, and I will keep my Dekoichis generally. And then game 3 is where I go into something different for first, I side on first, second, third a lot. I think it's very important.
Interesting.
I mean, yeah, first game, second game, third game.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, you hear most people when they talk about siding, they refer to game 2 and game 3 kind of as their own, as a collective thing, but you kind of separate your siding strategy between 2 and 3. Very interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, of course, upstart first. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this opening hand?
I think it's pretty good. There's no Trinity, and he's at 9,000 life to my 8,000. But again, doesn't really matter about life. I think you just set the spy and set the shoot and hope the spy resolves, and go from there.
Makes sense.
Dust shoot here.
Do you
So I
ever
guess
do
we
you ever
can do.
consider getting tricky with a dust shoot in a spot like this, waiting? I know, some people tend to do that, but you go for just rip it here, right?
I usually always rip it. The only time that I don't is when I find against players, like again, when I played the Nano near the end, I got him on a really big heavy versus my set shoot,
Hmm.
which probably won me that game. But again, I did that around match 18 and 19, just because he knows my tendencies. I always fire it. The reason why I always fire it is that if I allow him to go to M1 and he pitches a Thunder Dragon and his hand was completely dead, other than that, I'm gonna be really upset.
Makes sense.
Whereas like the only times you're ever going to get a plus is off a blind MST or a heavy for 1, and generally players don't do
At
that.
this
So
level, yeah, especially, yeah, makes sense. All right, so we see
mhm.
his hand off of dust shoot, BLS, Nox, Tsukiyomi, double Knight Assailant, and the Dekoichi. I have no idea what I would send here. Let's see what you end up going with.
I think this one's fairly easy. I think that you send it to Koichi, and the
Hmm.
reason being is that you want to limit the amount of cards that he has, and you don't want to bank on drawing a way to remove the Koichi like a Mind Control or Mind Control won't even do it because he has a Souk. So you need to rip exactly a Nobleman or like a runner into some sort of BLS or who knows, like from Charity. So the play to me is very clear. You send it to Koichi, and you leave him with Knight Assailant, Souk, Nobleman, BLS, you know you're getting Nobleman,
Yeah,
and you just pray to God he sets that Night Assailant, you attack it with a Sangan. That's a plus.
that's true.
So yeah, that's what you're kind of baiting him to do this play, and we're gonna see what happens.
Makes sense. Just a general good. That's a good tip with Dust Shoot is to kind of anticipate, not just think about the strength of hand. Like obviously BLS is the most powerful card in the hand, but think about how it's going to play out. And so doing that, knowing that he probably will set the Night Assailant or potentially will, then you get a nice plus with the Sangan. So planning ahead is really important when you're picking your monster for Dust Shoot. So.
Well, he's left in a bad spot because even if he doesn't set the Night Assailant, and he just passes, he's taking 1,000.
Yep.
I'm going to attack now with the Sangan probably, or he's going to set the Suki. I'm attacking with Sangan if he sets anything, and if the worst case scenario it's Suki, okay, well if he sets my Sangan next turn, I'll just kill it. I'll kill his Suki with my tribe.
Yep.
So we're setting ourselves up in the future to get pluses.
Makes sense.
And also another reason to not send a BLS is we have a tribe, so we can clean that BLS up. So here we go.
That's true.
We get what we want.
Yep.
And we draw a Nobleman. And notice how we don't use it.
Yep.
Because we don't care what it is. We don't care what it is. If it's Suki, we take 400. Big deal. If it's Night Assailant, we get a plus.
Yeah.
And here, I want to take an aggressive monster. Taking Serpent is the easy choice. But I think taking a Dekoichi is better because he doesn't have a way to deal with face downs other than setting his Night Assailant.
Yeah, because these cards are a bit, obviously you want to save the tribe, Suki, a bit passive. So yeah, getting an aggressive monster, it makes a lot of sense there. Instead of just knee-jerk reaction grabbing the Sinister. Good point.
Mm-hmm. He looks like he drew back the Dekoichi. Here is Nobleman first, so we can minimize our deck in terms of flips that we don't need or
that makes
want.
Sense.
Like just help out our chances of getting more Trinity.
When we talk about mistakes that beginners make in the Turbo Mirror, this is something very simple. Just the ordering of stuff like this can have effects down the line. If we knock and if we potty greed first and draw an extra copy of Dekoichi, our hand is a bit brickier than previously. So yeah, it makes sense. Little things like that add up.
Now obviously pot. This is a good hand, good draws. Set Dekoichi, set shoot, pass.
Rip it again. We see pretty much the same hand minus the trap Dust Shoot. So you're getting Dust Shooted.
We have a pretty big lock on this one. I don't quite remember. I'm not surprised if we actually send the BLS here because we're going to be getting Dust Shooted. So yeah, we just send the BLS here, which is the best choice because those other two cards aren't doing anything, and we are going to be getting Dust Shooted. We're going to be losing our tribe if we did not send the BLS. So we might,
And that's your out. Yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
He goes with the Tsukiyomi to prevent potential Faith or Dekoichi loop. Makes sense.
Draw, and now we know that this card is either Suki or Night Assailant. Like I said before, we just don't care, so we get to keep our Nobleman again, cash into plus, and this is now like unlosable.
Getting a little out of control. Yeah,
it's unlosable. So
I'll let this
Tribute.
run out a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, just let it run out. There's not going to be anything that comes up.
This duo U.
It's fine. It's a little sucky that our Serpent's in the grave, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
We could throw away our Nobleman here and keep the other dragon so we can push more damage because we have mind control. So that was kind of the only cool decision there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because he also knows that we have Nobleman.
Interesting. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Decide not to heavy. You hold it for now. I'm curious. Just want him to set more, or you not really? I mean, what's a concern really that he could have set, I guess.
The concern is that he knows that we have heavy and he set into it.
That's true. So
it's fine.
Yep.
Good with that. Here is heavy now.
Yeah, makes sense now.
Tribute, defense, attack, set mirror, pass. It's game.
Yep. On to the next.
Yeah, game 3 for siding. Very important. I think I side the 3 Kaikus, take out all my Dekoichis, put in 3 mind controls. I'm kind of on to a different tech now, being Spirit Reaper. I feel like it's really good currently with mind control especially, but this is before I was on the Reaper train. So I go really, really aggressive in game 3. I like to be able to respond to T sets, and my way to responding to T sets is mind controls, noblemans, and kaikus. So that's what I like to do. That's what you're probably going to see. I even use Call of the Haunted, so I can get back my
Interesting.
kaikus.
Wow. Yeah. Cool.
Get duoed here. This sucks. We don't have any discard fodder on
Nope.
hand.
Not a great start.
You throw away the Kaiku, that's fine, because we could just not afford to lose our +1 from the Thunder Dragon, and we need our Sangan to do something for us.
Yeah.
Draw Torrent. It's a decision here, though, between attacking with the Sangan or setting it. If you set it, you're at risk to Nobleman, whereas if you summon attack, best case scenario, it's a Knight Assailant, you get a plus. Worst case scenario, it's a Dekoichi. Second worst case scenario, it is a Spy, and you take 1,000, and then you just set the Torrent and pray.
Yeah.
But I think the worst option is actually setting the Sangan, because we just cannot afford it to be Nobleman right now.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so we attack first, just in case we get wing blasted here. We can change our draw with the dragon, so we get the order right. Little minute things,
Yep.
and then
Small
now with
ordering
dragon.
difference.
Mm-hmm.
Then you do the Thunder Dragons.
Set both traps and pass.
Yep.
Dust shoot and standby. Here is a tough one. I think the send is Sangan. Because if you send the serpent, the Sangan's going to come and he'll just search the serpent off of it
That's
anyways. True. So just send the Sangan.
Yep. Makes sense.
Notice how he is, not attacking the Sangan because he doesn't want me to search. And in our eyes, we're like, okay, cool. We just bought ourselves some time.
Yeah.
Because we're so behind. And this is a good draw, but there's no reason to commit this yet because we have a torrent set. So we have a plus of just pitching and clearing it out. But again, at what cost? Because we're gonna have to torrent a Kaiku or something if it comes down because we have no way to answer it if we commit our tribe. So just defense, pass.
Yep. Yeah, like you said, the Sangan's definitely buying you some time. It's good in a situation like this.
Yep, fake think here. No reason to kill that set serpent. And then now this is gravy.
Yeah,
this is an easy
fantastic torrential.
Yeah, easy torrent. The search off of this, I think, has to be Serpent or Spy. I'm leaning towards those two, unless I'm missing something. Yeah, so I go Spy just so I can buy myself some time.
Yeah.
We know that he doesn't have a Nobleman, so this is a power move.
I think, too, you can maybe expand on this a little bit more. In the mirror is kind of knowing where your place is in the game. Like you said, you're behind early, so having the ability to stall out is good to think about. I mean, because sometimes people will just they think of what card they want to get off of Sangan in a vacuum rather than the actual situation that they're in, knowing that I'm behind, I need to stall out, or I need to go aggressive, like you mentioned in the last game when you grabbed the Dekoichi because you wanted a nice aggressive card for the situation. Thinking about things like that will really elevate your turbo game.
Yeah, agreed. And also what helps this specific decision is that we have dragons for our tribe. Mm-hmm. So we don't really need to be extra greedy with a serpent. So, and I believe one of our wing blasts already gone. So whatever, it's less likely we're going to be using discard traps this game.
Sure.
One gone. Chaos monster coming down. We're hoping that it's just Sork.
Yeah.
And now we're actually hoping to get Nobleman, and I will explain why.
Yeah.
If we got Nobleman here, we're going to take damage because I'm not going to book it. But our out of tribe clearing it out being spellcasters is better. We lose our Spy, sure, but then he loses his last one, I guess, and then we can just clean up the board. But he does attack it, so we're just gonna let it die. Obviously, no reason to book. We're gonna get a Spy back and just evaluate later. Call is a good draw. Got to man up the Spy and attack the face down.
Yeah.
There's a cool play that's likely going to happen where he's going to banish and I'm going to book. So now that Sork can't attack and our tribe can clean up.
Makes your tribe much better.
Yeah. So he actually spaces here, and now this is a plus for us because he targeted our call that takes
Sangan engrave. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Sangan. So this one here, I think searches SERP. This one's easier.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're doing okay considering his open and card count. This is a book.
Yeah, like you
Easy book
mentioned, because
here.
then that makes your tribe much better, and you get to keep your spy around potentially later if you end up using it.
It is a neg 1 because we're chaining to a monster effect, and he cashed in on the neg 1 because he used ring, so
Ah,
he
I
got our
see.
spy
Okay,
and our
so he
book.
changed it on your spy.
So yeah, it was the worst case scenario that he has a discard trap or a ring there, but that was the best time to use it. And now this is easy. This is tribe and I believe pitch. Show me my graveyard because I'm debating between throwing away the Night Assailant or the Serpent. I think you throw away Night Assailant to get back your spy here because you have one more in deck.
So you go with the
Okay.
Sinister. Interesting.
Yeah, I wonder why I did that. I would prefer to go with the Night, I guess the Night Assailant,
Yeah,
but hindsight's 2020.
that's right.
So he's got 4 cards to our 4 with a Serpent Grave, and that's him picking it up. So we're actually ahead right now.
From
Sets a
a very
card.
rough early duo, grinding
Yep.
back. That Torrential was a massive help.
Pick up our Serpent. Nothing to do here except upstart. Bad draw, but have to do it.
Yep.
Heavy's interesting. The play is just to attack. Okay, so this is a key spot. Can you show me his graveyard? So he takes Duo here, which I actually think is the worst option.
Yeah.
It's going to cost him 1,000 life, and that, mind you, the life isn't mean much, but it's going to cost him 1,000 life, and he knows that we have dragons and serpent. So with us knowing that, and we have a spy in our grave, I think at this point I realize that I want to get back my spy badly. So I would love myself to just set the storm and set the probably set the serpent as well, because we'll just throw away the Night Assailant and a dragon. Because the other option is you throw away a dragon and a serpent, but I want my Night Assailant to take back a spy,
Yeah.
and this is an opportunity to do so. And
Makes
we have
sense.
to set heavy here. We can't afford to lose it to the duo, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good.
Oh yeah, and you do that. Yep. Set the Serpent there. Cool.
Yep. So we're gonna get duoed here, and we actually don't care what he hits. It's all fake. And he torrents, so we love that. We love that because we set serpent.
He's assuming this is something real. He's getting
Yes.
value out of this. Nice.
Yep. And now he's like, okay, slam dunk duo. I got AJT. And it's not the case because we throw away the Night Assailant, take back the spy, which is what we wanted.
Slow accumulation of advantage.
Yep. Pick up the spy. Or just pick up the SERP, sorry. And then no reason to have you just set the spy now. Pass. Okay. Okay. So the worst thing that can happen again is a BLS.
Yes.
You have no removal. And that's what happens.
There it is.
So show me my graveyard if you don't mind at this point. So in terms of outs to a BLS, we have Mind Controls, we have Sork, we have Snatch. Mind Control, Sork, Snatch, Wing Blast, Ring. Think a Suki as well. Suki Nobleman would work. Think that's still available. So we have 21 cards in deck, and I think we have about 7 outs to top one. Mind you, we are not at risk of dying, so we do have some turns to tank some hits. So this is a very unfortunate card for him to draw.
Of course.
But again, this is kind of a premature BLS because he doesn't know our cards other than Spy, Serpent, TD.
And if you're able to weather the storm, then yeah, definitely, then BLS is gone. So
yeah. So sucks, but we can't control what he draws. So and we draw a ring. So here the play I think is heavy, Nobleman, and I guess you could do it this way too. I think I don't care if it gets wing blasted because I'll just draw a ring again. So that's why I did it. I wanted to keep my heavy, and his MST is gone. So this is actually better.
Makes sense.
This is standby, 100%. Have to get it gone.
Immediately do it. Yep.
Yep. So we're ahead 1,000 on life. His BLS is gone. We are now down a card.
You have a lot of good cards left in deck.
Yeah. Okay. Nobleman's fine. He knows it's Serpent, so I guess he just wanted it gone. Draw a Snatch is huge here. Pass. This is a big draw. Got to storm this one because all of his jars are gone. Don't want it to get solved or whatever. Can you
Yep.
show me my grave? And can you show me his? One nobleman gone. This one's close between setting the faith and the spy. I feel like you could set the faith or the spy. Either way is fine. You haven't seen a mind control from him. You know he doesn't have a wing blast set because it's gone now.
Yep.
With seeing a wing blast, I'm now more inclined to set the faith because he might not have a nobleman to answer my face down, and if this faith resolves and takes pot, it's probably game over.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna be
this
huge.
one here, mind you, if he mind controls it, we probably lose, but this is also an option.
Yep. Summon
So
spy attack.
yeah, this is also a good option because doing damage, and we have a snatch deal to answer whatever he kills this with, and his BLS is gone. So I don't know if I was kind of tricking you guys or whatever, but that was also an option on the table that I remember taking a very long time on this turn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that this was the best. This was probably the best play. Makes him commit a monster to the board. We get on there for damage, and we do not play into mind control.
Yeah, because you're right. We haven't seen mind control at all this game, so there's the potential. So yeah, you're right. There
Okay.
he goes. Now he's forced to commit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Standby phase. Dust shoot.
Dust shoot.
Sucks.
Ouch.
Sucks. We're gonna lose probably our. Actually, what he chooses here is very important for us. For us to note. So if him sending
Some
back
soup.
Sook, it leans towards I think he has a way to answer a face down monster.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, something AJT just mentioned right there is really good for people that are kind of newer and learning is thinking about what your opponent sends. Sometimes if you're starting out learning playing Yu-Gi-Oh, you get dust shooted and they just send back a card and you go, all right, well that sucks. But thinking about why they would send a particular card back, what does that indicate about what they could potentially have? That's a big part of the mirror specifically because dust shoot's getting flipped a lot. So that's a good point.
So yeah, another thing to consider here, by him sending back the Sook, it also tells me. Can you show me his graveyard? So it also tells me, well, Torrent's gone. It also tells me that this card is probably not Mirror Force because if it was, you would just easily send back the Faith and make me snatch, Suki it down, and try to attack for game, and then leave me with a Magician of Faith in my hand that you could probably answer with Mind
Mm.
Control or whatever. So this leans to, from what I interpreted from this, is that set card there is not a way to prevent taking damage.
Yeah, good
So
analysis.
let's see what I decide to do here. Attack, for sure attack, and then tribute set, I believe. Or I guess we do this. This is dangerous. Dangerous. I guess if he mind controls our faith, well now it would suck if he has mind control. But before that, it was just gonna be a duo.
Yeah.
Snatch is fine. And then this goes off, so we take back pot, obviously.
Great.
We got lucky that it worked out, but I mean, I guess he got lucky to top deck that. Show me his grave, please. So he definitely still has a dust shoot available. I think that we should be setting mind control then potting. Playing around dust shoot.
Yep.
Here we go.
Interesting draws. Yeah, the dust shoot isn't doing much for you.
I think you just set the force and pass. Yeah. Take it. Bad draw again.
Yep. What a time to draw those string of cards.
Yep.
If you can just hang on, you've got some good stuff still in the deck.
Yeah. Only thing that sucks is that we're taking -6 and he's going +1.
Mm-hmm.
Take it. We have a lot of good cards left in our deck, so it's going to come down to hitting one of them. This is not the best draw in this spot,
No.
but it is what it is.
Go ahead and just use it, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we then gains 1,000. This one here we have to force so we don't lose the ring,
Makes sense.
which was, I believe, already gone. Can you show me his grave?
Yep.
Ring is gone, but I don't want this to continue, and his snatch is gone too. Kaiku's a really big draw.
Just have to hope it
With
goes
Snatch,
through.
yeah, with Snatch gone, I think the play is you just summon an attack. Gets forced. It's fine.
Let's see. Minecon,
And
Dust Shoot set. Not doing a lot.
nope. This is a
Just a
huge
good
rip.
pickup. Yep.
Yep. So this is huge. Can you show me his grave?
Yeah. Let's slow down a little bit here.
So in terms of his flips left, I think we still got to keep Nobleman. The Faith just cannot be used. I think that he has mind control at this point. I know he sides a whole bunch. Faith is garbage, so I think you throw away the Faith and you throw away the TD.
Yeah, I would play right into this Minecon right here at this spot.
This one's easy. You summon Breaker.
Yep.
His Snatch is already gone, so there's nothing you're holding out for. And then I remember thinking which one to hit, so I'm trying to think which one is likely not chainable.
That's a good point. I'll mention that too. You know, I see people sometimes. People will have their opponent will have set spell and traps at different times, and then they'll summon Breaker and then use like a dice or something to determine which one to hit. And they're like, use your deduction to try to figure out which was the better one to hit based off of what they've done before. It's, yeah,
Okay, we miss, but I mean, at least it's not chainable.
Yep.
His mirror's gone, and we have a mind control, so we can if this connects, his mirror force and torrential are gone. This is a lot of damage, and if he has mind control, he's gonna have to banish our BLS, and then we can mind control our nobleman whatever he sets.
Yep.
And his snatch is gone, so he does rip the third charity piece here, and it's like holy shit.
This is one of those matches. 5 cards left in deck, 6 cards left in deck.
This was an awesome match.
This is what it's all about. Yep. He gets rid of Deco Spy. Goes with a Breaker of his own. It didn't really matter.
He attacks with it. Good play.
Yeah, smart.
It's our mind control, and I think we attack here. To be honest, there's no reason not to. We can actually bring the Sork too, because his mirror and torrential are gone.
Both gone.
And I think we have enough materials. If you show me my grave,
Yep.
I think we do. Yeah, so just attack. There's no way you can lose here because he's so low. Okay, and then attack with the Sork.
And he had a knock set. GG.
Yeah, so that faith was not going through. So I'm happy we made the right decisions. This was a wild match.
Very much so. Yeah, very close match. Yeah, once again, thank you so much for coming by, AJT, and spilling a lot of information. It really means a lot. This is something I really enjoy in the community, is a lot of these high-level players willing to share their knowledge to help the player base. It genuinely goes a long way. So thank you so much for your time. Do you have any shout-outs or anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out the Safari Zone team, and I'd like to shout out Team 519 and Team Cedar there. A lot of my growth in this game came from playing on the kitchen table and also playing with these great guys in Safari. So I want to shout out them, and shout out to all the admins in GOAT format and yourself for having me on the show. We all want the same thing, and the growth of this great game that we're still playing almost 20 years later, if you can believe that.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for your time, AJT. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. And thank you. Until the next one. Bye.